Welcome to the Kiwi Odyssey channel. Cat's log. Sea date 14th to 19th of December 24. We are in Panama. We start with Cologne. Because Panama was so special, I've actually roped in Mark today to help me talk about it.
Hello everybody.
Here's our first sighting of an iguana.
Yeah, the first of many. I saw lots of them in Panama. There's the mandatory Cologne sign.
Seems they parked a ship up and then concreted around it. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think that was a cafe, but we never actually got to it.
No, I don't think it was open.
Well, one of the things about Cologne is that they were saying it was quite unsafe to stay inside the port, so we ended up doing that and just sort of checking out the stuff that was easily accessible.
And we found a chess game.
Yeah, a whole chess tournament.
Oh, true. We were only here for a day and a half, and then we were on to what everybody's been waiting for.
The Panama Canal.
Yeah, so exciting.
Amazing.
So this is showing us where we were on the map, and never been around quite so many ships.
We were standing in the restaurant counting ships, and I think there were 33 ships all queued up ready to hit the Panama Canal. A random shipwreck. Guess they didn't make it to the canal.
There's the bridge as we were entering to go into the canal, and that's where they split, and to the left is for the really large ships, way bigger than us, eh?
Yeah.
Full disclaimer, I have sped up some of the video because it was a full day, and you don't want to sit through the really slow sailing of these ships, trying not to hit the sides.
So we're sort of waiting outside the entrance to the first lock there. You can see one of the Viking cruise ships ahead of us, and a Japanese ro-ro boat coming from the left, coming down the other way.
Hey, let's talk about the mules.
Right, so the mules are electric locomotives. We got 6 of them, 3 on each side, and the point of these guys is to be attached to us by cables and to keep us centered in the canal, because the canal is not very wide, even though we're not a huge ship. You know, there's still not a lot of clearance.
We got more clearance than this guy coming through. He's huge.
He's got like a foot of clearance on each side of.
It's crazy. These locks are so impressive though. Like, I couldn't get my head around how they worked until we went through.
So we watched a few YouTube videos and did a bit of homework on the history of the Panama Canal and the engineering. So it turns out the gates are huge, but they're all hollow and they're buoyant in water. So they actually are floating. It only takes a little motor to open and close them.
Yeah, it's so amazing how they did this. I don't understand how the technology was good enough back then. This video I wanted to show you, and it is in real time. So quite slow, but you get a feel. We also had an expert on board talking us through, and here he's talking about the lighthouses.
They're painted black as not to attract the attention of the pilot, distracting them. Some of them are operating and are painted half of the lighthouse black, half of the lighthouse in white, because when you're coming out of the locks or towards the locks and you're not supposed to look at that range, they paint that side in black. On the opposite side, on the center wall, that's the control tower where the lock master operates from. They have a model of the lock showing the water level in each chamber and the operation of each set of gates and valves that allow the water to flow. The original system was mechanically linked to the lock. Now they have computer screens that show the levels and the operation of the equipment, but everything is taken care of from that control tower.
Yeah, well actually when this was actually built back in 1914 or just before, the technology was the latest and greatest. You know, electric locomotives, the largest amount of concrete in one place. It's an incredible feat of engineering. It's amazing, and it's still going strong today.
So we're coming up to Gatun Lake, and it was created between 1907 and 1913, and it was done by damming the Chagres River. So at the time it was constructed, it was the world's largest artificial lake. Look at that huge container ship. So essentially we've just managed to climb to the top of a mountain in a cruise ship. We are 26 meters above sea level right now.
So we're on the other side of the lake now. So to get to this point, we stepped up 3 times on the side of the lake, spent a day's very leisurely cruising, and now we're coming down the other side. The ship in front of us is being lowered down. You can see it sort of slowly sinking out of sight as it works its way down through the locks.
This one, it shows how empty it becomes. It's quite fascinating. And on the right hand side of where we are right now is the larger area where the bigger ships can go. Some ships still cannot fit through that part of the canal. The Queen Mary 2 couldn't fit through this canal, but will be able to fit through that second canal, so that's good news. Here's our selfie for the canal.
Variation when a ship is coming in from the Pacific side. The tide of the Pacific can shift up to 19 feet between low and high. On the Atlantic side, it's about 1.5 foot difference only. Another reason why a sea level canal was not going to be a good idea here. Imagine having strong currents of water one way or the other every time the tide shifted. Commercially, not a success.
So here we go, coming out of our canal journey, and it's been an absolutely amazing thing to do. Final lock gate, right?
So this is sped up. So they're draining our side of the lock. All they do is open a valve. Everything's gravity fed. There's no pumps or anything, and it's just going to equalize the water level, and we just open the gate and cruise right out.
Oh, so now's a really good time to explain about the gates. They don't actually lock closed, right?
No, it's just the weight of the water holding them closed. So the gates where we are fit together at a 45-degree angle, and the water pressure on the full side of the lock will just push the gates closed. When the water is lowered, the pressure will come off and the gates can be opened easily.
And as we come out of the canal, we now head towards Panama City. Isn't it really pretty? Look at the beautiful lights. We have to hang out tonight though, right?
Yep, we have to moor up. We arrive in the morning.
And this is us heading towards Panama City. And there we are docked.
We took the hop-on, hop-off bus and did a tour around Panama City. There's the mast of a random sunken sailboat just off the shore. The new city, some beautiful old architecture here, some amazing stuff. So the new city and the old city are very, very different, very separated. It's definitely a city of two halves.
Here we see some really cool street art as we're driving along. I'm taking photos out the window. But as we get closer to the city, you can see the two, the new and the old. And they've got this wicked twisted tower. So I was really taken by the architecture in Panama City. They have so many different things going on. So here's some colourful architecture, some interesting shaped architecture, some gold architecture. I mean, it's just all around the place. So at the locks nearby, there is a visitor centre and an IMAX movie that Morgan Freeman is narrating on the
history of the canal.
The history of the canal, the building of it. Would have been awesome to see. We didn't go, but it would have been really interesting. One thing we did decide though, we did love this place so much and felt that it needed more exploration, so we will come back and spend some time here. So this was the end of our bus tour and we head back to the ship for the night. So the next day we decided to take a walk to find my magnet and to a nature centre, and on our way there we saw an iguana.
It just fell out of the trees in front of us.
Yeah, well that one was actually there, and then his friend fell out of the tree and started chasing him, and actually they had a game of tag, and that's his friend here. It's fascinating.
So this is the local nature centre, which is done in association with the Smithsonian. They've got a lot of exhibits here. This here is the remains of an old quarantine centre. When the canal was first attempted by the French, a lot of people were killed off by malaria, yellow fever. So they built this a little bit offshore on piles and kept a whole lot of people in isolation.
So here we go into something really fascinating we haven't seen before. Here is our first encounter with a sloth. The sign said to look up, but we couldn't see anything. The keeper showed us where to look.
He's just hanging around asleep in a tree.
So there was two sloths here. Look at his face. And a really cool iguana.
Another iguana encounter.
I just love the way they walk. They're so cute. Anyway, we then went into an aquarium and found out about this lionfish. It's stunning, but it's actually really bad for their ecosystem because they're really poisonous and they eat all the fish around them. There's a moray eel. He's pretty big. And the beautiful coral that they have in there. So this aquarium was really cool because I found Dory. And here she comes. But, she just keeps swimming. She just keeps swimming. We found out that when the isthmus arose between Central America and Southern America, that a lot of animals migrated between the two sides, and they had animals on their continent that they didn't have before. Here's a sign with the size of turtles, and the big one is taller than me. Here's some red-eared turtles climbing all over each other. Oh, some have yellow ears too, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So we also had this beautiful butterfly dome you could walk into. It was a sweltering hot day, and there were millions of butterflies all flying around, very active, lots of wonderful colours. They'd land on you, and there's a keeper on hand to tell you all about them. It was amazing.
It was really cool. And they were feeding on bananas, eh?
Yep, bananas and sugar water, and a lot of flowers in the enclosure.
Their wings are flapping really fast. It's almost like watching hummingbirds feeding, eh?
Yep.
Ugh. Now here's the ugliest bird I've ever seen.
And you think iguanas are cute.
This is a...
vulture.
Oh yeah, that's it. He was
Look
just
at
hanging
him.
out there.
He's handsome.
Oh no. So I like birds, but no. He did let us get pretty close though. We were on our way down, and then there was this other huge noise, right?
Yeah, commotion in the trees.
Just like when that last iguana fell out of the tree. We found this huge thing.
This guy was much bigger.
And he wouldn't move, but he is alive. Take a look at that. Far out. Oh, and then we were walking and we found raccoons.
Yeah, apparently you're not supposed to feed them. They're massive pests, and they're doing quite well.
So just so you know, all these animals are free to come and go. And we found one that looked like a possum, but I think it's just an old raccoon. Some beautiful birds. So we had a lot of new residents come on board in Panama City, and so we had a introduction from our captain and our CEO, and we got to introduce all the staff, and then we sang a Christmas carol. I took out the singing though, because I was holding the phone and it was just a bit loud with me singing next to it. But that's all our lovely residents. And one of our residents has a friend who owns a bar in the old town called Element. He put the call out, and about 30 of us residents went out that night to his bar. And it was a steampunk feel, and I got the coolest glass with my drink. We had a really good night. We only have half a day tomorrow, so this ends our Panama section. I want to thank Mark for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's been great. See you on the next one.